Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, yes, we have a very strong, ferocious, fierce, savage, whatever you want to call this system. Go ahead and call it, because this is a intense storm, to say the least. It will be bringing severe weather that I will be going over in today's video. It will be bringing a snow threat, near blizzard conditions, if not just a full-fledged blizzard across the northern plains. It will be bringing wind, and this wind is not just limited to where the snow is falling. This thing, you've been feeling it probably across the Midwest today. It has a mass range, and I will be going over that as well. This thing is it's a monster. So before I get into talking more about the system, I do want to let you guys know that if you do enjoy this type of content, I'm just reminding you, consider checking out the other videos, consider checking out the channel. If you do see what you like, consider subscribing and leaving a like. And obviously, if you have any comments or concerns, please leave them down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Alright guys, let's start talking about this winter storm, as again, we have a lot to talk about. First off, I want to get a few things set straight. For official info, especially in dangerous situations like the ones we have, evolving across the Midwest, where we have several phases of this storm, severe weather, winds, whatnot, always go to the National Weather Service. That's the official source, and I never, not once, am going to claim that I am a better source. I'm here just to kind of inform you about this, to redirect you to, say, the National Weather Service and your local weather authorities, because this thing is impactful, to say the least. I mean, that's honestly a pretty gross underestimate. Alright, so I want to first show you what the National Weather Service has posted in terms of its kind of advisories and watches for for the United States. So let me go. I'll use this website to show it. Look at that. That is just extraordinary. Look, all those brown colors. If you live here, which good chances, there's a good chance you might. Those are wind watches, or sorry, high wind warnings. Anywhere here, it's wind advisories. So still strong wind, just maybe a bit weaker. In those oranges, those reds, I should say, those are tornado warnings. Yes, there very well may be a tornado as I'm recording right now on the ground across the United States, which is kind of scary to think about. And those oranges right next to those severe thunderstorm warnings, but not that brown color right there, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning. It's a derecho almost kind of type thing. I don't think it will be. It won't hold itself kind of together for too long, but it's a straight line wind event with lots of hail. And up here, of course, we have that snow with fierce winds, as well as obviously falling snow. I do want to say there's a pretty big fire threat with this as well. You may be wondering, how is there a fire threat? It's because of the strong winds, relatively dry, and of course it's been warm, very warm today. I was outside for most of the day, and let me tell you, it didn't feel like December. It was almost a bit eerie. And yes, obviously the fire danger is pretty high. We have also another winter storm moving into the Sierra Nevada, so they just got pummeled. They are undergoing that again. I may be talking fast, I may be talking quick, and I do apologize, but unfortunately with a scenario like this, there's so much information to cover. I try going as fast as I can without obviously being, while still being clear. Let me go over now what the current radar looks like. So again, we have those winter storm watches kind of layered onto the radar with this map, but let me take that off, because I just want to show you the radar itself. If you don't know what this is showing us where precip is falling. Obviously, if you could take a guess, you would assume the blue is snow, the green is rain, and you would be correct. All those yellow colors are kind of thunderstorms or just heavier bands of rain. It doesn't show the wind, obviously, so this thing may not look nasty by itself, but if you're in the weather community, you know that a storm system organized in this type of structure, where we have this bowing line of storms, meaning that the winds are really pushing these thunderstorms out. So this is a nasty system. We do have a snowy side to it. It's not well developed, and you would be correct if you were to assume that. Notice that there is quite a bit of precipitation across southern Minnesota, falling pretty quickly. It is very quick moving, this system, which is kind of the saving grace. And this thing will start developing a nasty snowy side to it, dropping snow across South Dakota, right into Minnesota, and kind of peeking out across southern Canada and Minnesota. It is also producing a lot of showers and snow across the Northeast. Yes, this is connected with that system. It's all that warm air that it's kind of shoving out ahead of it. It's condensing. It's condensing and producing either snow, rain, freezing rain, depending on the temperatures. It's pretty warm, so again, most of that is rain for the United States. But for cities like Quebec, it's snowing. For cities like Montreal, it is also mainly snowing. Look how nasty these storms were. Omaha just got blown through with a line of storms at around the 4 o'clock hour of Central Time Zone. That is bad. Sioux City got blasted through. Again, there is that tornado threat, which is again pretty darn high, and there is a moderate issued from the Storm Prediction Center. So there, I showed you the radar. I showed you kind of, the basics. Let me just go now bit by bit. Let's start off with the severe weather. Again, today it's a pretty high day. It's rare that they issue a moderate during the year. It does happen on a yearly basis throughout the year. I would say 3 to 4 times on average, maybe 5 or 6. And in December, this far north, it is most definitely a rarity. Let me tell you that much. And obviously the temperatures are very warm, so that coincides with this. This helps these storms to be very, very strong. And look at this. So this is just where kind of the worst of the worst may be. Cities like Des Moines, Rochester, Waterloo, Ames, right? If you live in that red, please be aware for throughout the night. Take caution, be weather aware. Don't panic, but just be prepared. Orange, right? Also pay attention. That's still a pretty big risk. Even with the yellow, again, at this time of the year, it's still a pretty high risk. And everywhere you see those greens and those like darker greens, that's just a thunderstorm, a general thunderstorm risk. And those can too be obviously dangerous. Tornado threat, it's definitely there. It's not off the charts, thankfully, but it's there. You can see up to 10% right there. And that is definitely something that is, could produce some nocturnal tornadoes. Wind is the massive one with this one. And mainly the reason why they issued that moderate. You could see many cities like Des Moines, the biggest city in Iowa, being impacted by that. But even in the red, which is still a pretty big threat, a lot of large cities, Kansas City, Omaha, and we do also have Cedar Rapids and whatnot. Hail, it's definitely a big threat as well. Or sorry, I should say it's definitely a threat as well, but you can see with this one, it's not as big. The reason, it's just quick moving. These cells aren't supercell. They aren't individual storms, so usually hail with this type of a structure of storms is not a threat, and thankfully, it's going to be limited today. And of course, just, lightning and thunder. I mean, that's not a severe storm, but that's any other kind of thunderstorm, which, you could get zapped, as weird as that sounds. So that's something to be prepared for. So yes, severe weather. Please, guys, just pay attention. This won't be a, whole night overnight system. This, by really 10 p.m. today, will be a winding down. And that's what it takes me to the next point of my talking. And I want to time this out for you. This is 6 p.m. when I'm recording. So look at this system hour by hour. There's that line of storms I just showed you that's on the radar. Let me show you what happens when I put this 2 hours forward. You can see it's progressing fast. But notice what it is doing. It's weakening. It passes through the Twin Cities, obviously, at 8, 9. Most of Iowa is still, at this point is good. So if you live in Des Moines and you're worried, by 9 o'clock, if you haven't seen anything bad, consider yourself lucky. Wisconsin, Illinois, you're up next. If you're, it's 10 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock, and you're across, say, Milwaukee, that threat is still there. Green Bay, though at that point, I'll show you what this line of storms does. It weakens quite significantly. And look, boom, 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 and it pretty much falls apart. And you can see that's really most of the threat for that hail, or really those winds and tornadoes, is gone by today at 12. It's not going to be like those storms we saw in Kentucky that were overnight. This thing, by tonight, late at night, it's pretty much done and over with. So that's a huge sigh of relief. Notice at that point, we're turning more towards the snowy side of it. It's just cranking up. We do have still some storm potential across the north, but it's more non-severe, and it's just flooding and whatnot, kind of those risks. And I just, I'll let you kind of look through this. So this is 10 p.m. today. Again, this is quick moving. By really 11, the low pressure itself is almost out of the United States. And by 12, you could see that it is producing loads of snow across the Midwest. Very intense, but it's brief. Very strong winds, blizzard conditions. It's still up to 4 to 6 inches. That may not sound like a lot, but with a storm like this is a nightmare. Also, peep this, folks. We do have a bit of snow across Quebec and Maine, right? I showed you that on a radar. It's occurring right now. That will continue to, and it will actually be pretty slow moving. That could actually drop up to 4 to 7 inches of snow across Maine as well. Depending on where. Further east, northeast Maine, you will see more. Further towards New Hampshire, you will eventually just turn to rain if you haven't already. And notice this wind machine is obviously producing just ridiculous winds. So, you can't really see that on a radar, but that's a massive story from this system, as it's affecting vast areas with damaging winds almost of 70 miles per hour. And again, you can see this system, by the time it's 3, 4, 5, it's still snowing across northern Minnesota and southern Wisconsin or Canada, but it's letting up and it's starting to move away, and it does so very, very politely. Tomorrow in the morning, it's really just the Arrowhead and cities like Duluth, maybe Minneapolis, also seeing some snow showers. And you can see that thunderstorm threat is at this point pretty much gone. You're right. By tomorrow early in the morning, it's just a bit of rain, and again, should be mainly non-severe. So let me take a look at those total snowfall, right, for the people that want that snow. this isn't a massive snow system in terms of the snowy side. It is a winter storm because I just called it a winter storm. It's occurring during really the winter and is dropping a bit of snow, and this may not seem like a lot, but I mean, given the fact that there could be up to 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, 4 or 5 inches, that could create several foot drifts. As ridiculous as it sounds, it's definitely possible, and that could obviously wreak havoc with travel and just with cleanup. That blowing snow. I do apologize about that robotic voice. If you did hear that, that was my speaker telling me that it needs charging. Yeah, but you can see that again, not a massive snow event. It is a massive wind and rain event. And here's a precip amount in terms of kind of liquid rain or snow. Obviously, where those storms occur, it's quite a bit of rain, and where that kind of rain snow line is, there's going to be a bit of rain on that southern flank of it, which is good. These areas are actually in a drought, so this is beneficial for sure. Notice that as I turn on the snowfall or go back to the snowfall and look at the southwest, while I went over that through tomorrow 11 a.m., there will be a system that moves through the west. It will be pretty much done and over with by the time, again, by 11 tomorrow, it's winding down. But let me just play it through. I know I have viewers across the west. Look, Nevada, Oregon, Idaho reaches the Bitterroots by today at 1. It's raining and already snowing across this here in Nevada. It continues to do so. Quite a bit of convection here, potentially some thunderstorms occurring. Non-severe, of course, but there definitely is the potential. And a lot of this, again, kind of wind, it really dwindles by the time it reaches the central and especially the southern Sierra. But by early tomorrow in the morning, again, it's mainly over with. But that may not seem significant, but let me show you some of these snowfall amounts. They could take you off guard a bit. Obviously, nothing like we saw, but some isolated locations could see up to 2 feet across the northern Sierra. That would pretty much bring these locations up to 100% of their average snowpack, and that is brilliant news. And you can see that further across Nevada, and maybe the Bitterroots of Idaho also seeing decent amounts of snow. Quick little note here. Let me show you a few models that go out really far, and I want to demonstrate to you how much snow these areas could be seeing. All right, look at this. I mean, potentially hundreds of inches. It could just be storm after storm, and this is one of the more gentle model runs. For example, go back to yesterday. Look at all these models. They've been consistently showing a lot of snow, and again, just 6Z, like this model run right from the morning today at noon. They've been showing a lot of snow, guys. So, yeah, the Sierras are definitely going to benefit from this to the fullest extent, right? So that is good news regarding that. Again, this isn't really with this storm that's occurring right now. This is just a long term. I kind of wanted to touch on it because, oh, well, why the heck not? So, again, we have this system, guys. I don't think I showed you actually what the snowfall may bring across the northeast. I was focused more on the Minnesota area, so I guess I'm sorry for that. Let me go back to the HER model and show you for the folks that do live across the northeast. And yeah, 18 hours. You could see this may not be an insane snowfall, but it widespread 3 to 5, maybe even 6 inches is possible. And in terms of rain for these locations, it's also nothing incredible, but it's definitely a bit, and it's beneficial. They are a bit drier across the kind of the northern interior portions of the northeast. So by the time, again, tomorrow, this thing's almost done with. But to demonstrate the wind potential with this beast, I want to show you the MSLP 10-meter wind. Right? And notice this is what it looks like right now. You can see those winds are just fierce, and it's starting to spread across Illinois. But this may not look, impactful, these yellow colors, but that is around 20 to 30 knots, and knots are a bit more of value than miles per hour. So around 30 knots is, say, 35, 34 miles per hour. So again, it's a bit more, right? And notice that this thing does kind of weaken over time, but just look at that. That is a widespread multi-state area of wind that is 35 miles per hour or greater, which again in some areas could gust up to 70 miles per hour, which is incredible. And by the time we go into the overnights, it does weaken a bit, but it just moves to the north and affects more of the lakes. But look at the winds across the lakes where it's open waters. If you're trying to be on a boat or whatnot during these times, it's pretty much suicide. You could be facing 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, sustained gusts, probably close to 100, maybe even. Right? And notice that, again, this thing even sticks still with much of the Midwest into tomorrow with strong winds, not just strong, but again, potentially damaging. And I do want to emphasize that because if I were to take a look at some of these warnings from the National Weather Service, these wind warnings, let's just take a look at all of them. There we go. I don't know which ones. Okay, so I guess these qualify as wind or as a marine thing. And yes, if you're to take a look at this, yep, look, 10 to 15 waves expected up to 15 knots. That is around 75 miles per hour, which is again very strong and probably in the strongest of areas. It's even gonna be. Even stronger. You can see some of these gale watches, gale warnings, and then of course on land. I mean, I just clicked around location up to 60 miles per hour, trees blown down, power lines. It's damaging, right? It's not just an inconvenience, it's damaging. And you can see it's all across these areas, these high wind warnings. There also is a tornado watch in case you haven't realized, which again is taking and a severe thunderstorm watch, which is kind of taking the main forecast headlines. But even past this event, there is a concern for, again, this widespread damaging wind phenomena. And I do want to say that, again, this thing does have some tornado warnings on it. And if I were to click on it right now, you would see that, you'd see the watches, right? But the warnings are these little tiny areas. And you can see there are severe thunderstorm warnings in these multi-county orange. But every time you see these little boxes of red, that's a tornado warning. And you can see that means that tornado is kind of on the ground, or it's very likely that it is occurring. And yeah, you can see it's these tornadoes could be pretty nasty. Any tornado is nasty. You can see there's another one right here. The tornado watch just calls for the counties that could be impacted by tornadoes. Tornado warning is just, that storm that's over you is producing a tornado. And of course, the severe thunderstorm warnings are just out ahead of all the storms, and that's really just for strong winds, I'm assuming, with maybe some hail. But yeah, they're not even mentioning hail. It's mainly just the winds that are with the severe side of this. And of course the heavy rain as well. I mean, you can't ignore that. Those colorations aren't because of the wind. That's indicator of how heavy the precip is, which is falling pretty heavily. You can see as I was recording this video, it just blasted through Des Moines, Iowa, much of eastern Iowa. Hopefully didn't cause too much damage and brought more rain, as they need that rain. And look across further north, maybe not so much severe, but a lot of rain. Look at, say, Wilmar, Minnesota. I mean, wave after wave of rain, and more is coming. Redwood coming towards Mankato, Alberta, Albert Lee, Sioux Falls getting this nasty little wraparound. And once you get towards Nebraska, you see blizzard conditions unfolding locally. So yeah, this is a nasty system. And of course, right there's our friend across the Sierra Nevada. I don't know why I called it our friend, but there's our system, and you can see it's dropping snow, rain, and what's not, filling up the reservoirs. So I guess that's why I'm calling it our friend. Again, you can see Chico, Oroville, all these locations picking up a healthy, to say the least, a healthy amount of rainfall. So that is encouraging. They need this snow, even though they've seen already an absolute ton. Across the Cascades, also a similar story. So that's basically it for today's video. Again, more a short range oriented video, about the short range, what's occurring right now. But I do want to say that there is a lot of activity kind of further along, not necessarily with severe weather, thankfully. I do want to say that tomorrow's severe weather is just mainly towards the south, though it's not a big threat. In the long term, I could show you the GFS, the latest run of the GFS, and you would see that it's, again, active, especially for that southwest region that I kind of showed you earlier with all those ridiculous amounts of snow. Let me just speed this up and run through this. You can see that's, again, storms, nor'easter potentials. Look at the southwest, just constant activity across those areas. And again, this is just one scenario that could be unfolding. There are many models that show many different things. Let me just run through this again. You could see a lot of activity across Christmas time for the southwest. This is the one at noon that came out. You could see it showed a lot of activity. There's that beast, that cyclone for today. And then we see, long-term still chances for storms and precipitation and events that could be impactful. You can see right there the southwest and northeast again. There's just more snow for the mountains. A lot of moisture here, even, for a La Nina year. That is most definitely impressive. Canadian model, different family, but still a very good model I like to look at. Let me focus in on this. There's our big storm today, activity. There is a snow threat for the northeast over the weekend, mainly inland kind of portions, but, it could drop decent snow. Early next week, we do have another system moving in. All models really agree on it. Just the intensity of it is a bit still uncertain, and a much cooler air, I would say, for the United States compared to at least what we've been seeing. Probably bringing temperatures close to average, if not a bit below. So, yep, that is basically it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe. Stay tuned to other future updates. And, of course, for official weather info, go to your local and national weather service, as they have the best information for you and your family and your plans and whatnot. All right. Thank you so much for watching. See ya. Bye.